All right, everybody, we're live. Welcome to the Good Times Hour. Take it away, B.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, please welcome our next guest on the tee. She loves shooting fish in a barrel with her deluxe Goloski Glock and hunting snipe with her bow and arrow. She's the Lady Hawk axe chucker who makes the field pucker when she grabs the tomahawk. Any weapon made for killing, and this one always takes top billing. She can shoot and slice and dice when the zombie apocalypse hits. Get your hind end to her neck of the woods, whatever the price. She's the original rhinestone cowgirl from those country roads, and now she's casting hexes and crushing suplexes from the nexus of the new disc golf universe. Dexter, the course with the most and a force on the left coast for the explosion of the sport. And like Butters, the incapacitated camera ham always says, it's not lazy, it's working smarter. Ladies and gentlemen, mahalo and booyaka Team Shaka from Oregon by way of West Virginia, from peak to shining peak. Please welcome Rebecca Duffy.
Wow, what an introduction.
He's got that down. He's definitely.
Yes, my whole life summed up in one. I don't know what I'm going to talk about now.
The devil is going to be in the details.
Well, what do you want to know? What do you want to know about Rebecca?
Before we start in there, Mace, why don't you put into a little bit of a framework here. Who is Rebecca? And then we can jump right in. We've got a little.
All right, so I'm going to read down a few things because there's quite a few things to tell about you. We're not going to cover it all in this little summary, but here's the framework of Rebecca Duffy. Her background in sports management, event planning, archery and media, golf, disc golf, and anything outdoors. She loves to hunt, to guide, and to grow great things. She's been a broadcaster for all emerging sports. She's celebrating 38 years in July as a psychiatric nurse practitioner at the Department of Veteran Affairs. No?
No, wrong Rebecca Duffy. I know which one you're talking about because she comes up in my Google alerts all the time.
All right, cool. Scratch that.
Scratch that
So
one.
I guess all this other stuff about the affiliated with North Coast VA community-based outpatient clinic is probably wrong too.
Yep.
That's all wrong.
All right, cool. Yeah. Well, there you go. We've got our first big mistake with our script. In 3, 4 runs. That's not bad.
I get her mail.
So what about development for CASA in Lane County? Is that you? Special advocate for children.
Yes, for CASA. Yeah, I was development director there.
All right. Oh yeah, right.
I got that one right.
Development. All right, and then Rebecca is highly valued because she is passionate about the mission and brings new energy and creativity to the fundraising team. And so, and that CASA was named Lane County, or CASA Lane County was named amongst Oregon's 100 best nonprofits.
Yes.
In 19, that's pretty respectable.
Yes, and that's very respectable.
Commendable. You joined the PDGA in 2007. You played 57 events. You got 8 career wins. We're going to touch on this more in a little bit, but I can't not mention the fact that you won the Bob West Memorial Sportswomanship Award in 2009.
Yes.
You're a business consultant, president of Eugene Disc Golf Club, member of the board of directors for the PDGA, first female president of the board, and held that position for 6 years. And among other things we'll get to later, but one of the things that's definitely something to be prideful of is that you were the TD for the 2013 U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championship in Portland.
Yes.
And we're going to spill some more beans later, but that's a really good place to start.
So I apologize for mixing in some of the Rebecca Duffys out there. Like I said, there's a lot.
No.
We don't like her as much as you anyway, so.
Yeah, I get a lot of Google alerts on her, so.
So now that we have
the good stuff though.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had to like take an alter ego or go incognito with somebody, this is what go incognito with somebody that's doing good stuff.
Well, I was like, wow, she's also with the VA. Man, that's inexhaustible, indefatigable. Yeah. So one thing that I wasn't able to really discover was your origin story. How did you get into disc golf? Why don't you tell us about when did the love affair begin with disc golf?
The love affair actually began in 2006. I live near Dexter, which we just used in the Tim Selinski. I live 3 minutes away from there. And I used to run across the dam beside the lake. Well, I kept seeing these metal, I didn't know what they were. I didn't know what to call them, metal cages. And on the kiosk, there was an advertisement for a work party. And so I thought it was for the state park. And I thought, okay, I use the state park, so I'm going to go to the work party. Ended up being a disc golf work party. And so it was the Eugene Disc Golf Club. And I met a lot of guys, all the guys from the club and started throwing discs. They introduced me to the sport, and here I am. I became secretary of the club and then president of the club, and then here I am working for the PDGA finally.
Well, they knew they found a sucker, huh?
Yeah, you could call, they probably at that time, yes, because I did there was a lot of work, but learned a lot from those guys, and if it weren't for them, I probably wouldn't be in my position today. So they took me under the wing, and legends like Bruce Sisson, were on there, and he's from from California area. He's one of the OGs down there, and he was in Eugene. So Bruce Sisson, Don Richter, Gene Fackler, the Bobs. We have Roller Bob and then Prophet Bob, and I mean, it was amazing. Tom Embry was part of that group. It was just amazing learning everything I could.
Yeah, I haven't heard Tom Embry's name in a long time.
Yeah, he actually designed Dexter. He's the one who designed the Dexter disc golf course, and him and Eric Buck Smith. I have a picture of them on Oregon Disc Golf Association. They're the ones who tore blackberries that were taller than you off that course to make it what it is today, and we finally got to use it for a major.
That's pretty amazing how much debris removal can be involved when it comes to finding a gem and finding a jewel, a diamond in the rough, so to speak, and just how much, how many scars. I don't remember exactly where. I've got a couple. I've got a photo that like runs from here to there, doing getting ready for a Zebo's Open, and it's just like got no other wounds on me, but it's literally a scratch from here to my elbow, and it's not bleeding, but it bled just enough to get out, and it's just one of those things. Like, some people don't know anything about that.
No.
And I when you start talking about blackberries, I'm like, ooh,
Blackberries, poison oak.
Yeah. So carrying on with your origin story, what was your first disc?
Oh, my first disc, it was a leopard, Star Leopard, 150 weight. Don Richter gave it to me.
You still have it?
I still have it.
Awesome.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously you've just named some of the early legends, the early heroes. But
Yes.
the people that you met that first day for the work party, which I think is amazing, because that just speaks to who you are. You are such an amazing volunteerist, and you put so much energy and passion into what you do. The fact that you came to disc golf because you felt like, I should be part of this work party because I use this state park. And you didn't leave right away when you just saw it was a bunch of guys.
And
could have been a
you
motorhead.
found out a new activity that turned out to be a big part of your life. A really big part of your life, and
Huge part.
yeah. That's a sweet little stumble.
Yeah. And was there anyone in particular from the very beginning of those names that you mentioned, like who kind of became your first mentor or your early hero?
Oh my. Well, all of them are equally, but one of the ones was Bruce Sisson. He, just the way that he carried himself and the way that he was always wanting to teach other people. Bruce Sisson, he's just a wonderful guy, and he surrounded himself with a great group of guys and made this club. They made this club. Gary Helvig was actually the first president of the Eugene Disc Golf Club, and I'm actually having some interactions with him now on Facebook, but Bruce has all these stories to tell, and he just won his first major this past weekend.
That's right.
Nice.
P75. That was his first one at
Wow.
Dexter. So, it was amazing just to be able to have that dream come true and have these locals be able to play in a major without having to travel across the United States.
Absolutely.
It's pretty amazing. So, in your early years, talk to us about what that was like in 07 in Oregon. I mean, you know, about events, about, I mean, just about the scene. I mean, you probably didn't even really care about the scene, the events back then in the beginning, but
Well,
what was it? I mean, were you playing weeklies? Were you just going out to continue to help with work days?
yeah,
Get
so we
right
had
into administrative duties right off the bat. I mean,
no, still this day, we still have a Sunday double, starts at 11. So anybody's traveling through Oregon, stop at Dexter on Sunday at 11, they're going to have a round of doubles. And then after that first round, they'll have a second round. And that's where I started learning. And I was the only woman for a while showing up to those doubles. And, it's pretty intimidating being a new player. But those guys, my first partner ever in doubles was this guy named Greg Meyer, and he doesn't play as much as he used to, but he was really good and he got stuck with me. But the one thing that I could do, even in my early years, was putt. For some reason, I'm a putter. I can't, still to this day, I can't drive. I can't drive. I can drive, but not as far as, but I don't know why. Never had a lesson. Nobody's given me a lesson. No, I'm just kidding. Nate Sexton gave me a lesson one time with my forehand, which improved very well. But it was the scene was great. We had the Oregon Disc Golf Series. And that series there was an established amount of events. It started out with the Great Northwest Open at Whistler's Bend. We all know about Whistler's Bend. And then it would go to, I think it was the Rose City Open in Portland. It would go to Dexter was one of them. Willamette Open would be one of the end ones. Beaver State Fling was part of the Oregon series at one time before it became a national tour and got huge. It was part of an Oregon series. And that Oregon series was run by Teresa Embry, Tom Embry, Chris Bellinger, Todd Andrews, and Todd and Chris, they served on the PDGA board there for a while and were president and vice president. And that was a great thing. It was at that time it was actually still hard to get into these events because this was Oregon. And if you didn't get signed up, either we didn't have online registration then. So we were, mailing our registrations in or calling Tom Embry up and go, can I get in here? I'll give you the money when I see you, that kind of thing. And you can't have that anymore. But not only that Oregon series, and it was a point series. So we had the Willamette Open was our championship thing. And, it was just such a great reunion at every tournament. And the Eugene Celebration is actually one of the surviving tournaments from the Oregon series. It's one of the oldest running tournaments, and it's right here at Dexter. But yeah, the scene was phenomenal. And I just got, I decided, okay, I'm going all in. PDGA membership in 2007. And before, it was actually played an event or in any event except doubles on Sunday at Dexter. So, I mean, it's really surreal now looking back, and we still have a lot of events, but there's a lot of new events and they're just not that reunion that we used to have. And there's some of us, OGs here that kind of miss that and miss that, that reunion feel that we already have. And we kind of got that a little bit at Tim Selinski because, everybody came and, the OGs from California, Bruce Sisson had a, wonderful time, obviously he won, but it was just that kind of thing that we needed. And it'd be great to bring that kind of Oregon series back. But not only that, Tom Embry ran this non-sanctioned OLE series. It's called the Oregon Liquid Environment Series, and we call it the OLEGs. We would go up to a park. Everybody would bring a basket. Tom would have the layout, and we'd set our baskets down. I mean, you would be putting on 18 different kinds of baskets, maybe. It was so much fun. And Tom would do the script, and that's how I got my first basket. I saved all my scripts. and then turned it all in and got my first basket, which was actually one of the practice baskets that we used for Selinski. I got that in like 2006 or 2007, and I had to repaint it. It got a little, had to brush the dust off of it the other day,
Right.
taking it out for extra practice baskets. But it was little series like that. We just show up, have a good time, be pouring the rain. We don't care. Oregonians have the best rain gear out there. So you won't see an umbrella hardly unless it's really pouring the rain. But, it's just when we have the quad straps and the end of the bags and
Yeah.
and
Right on. Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's definitely a walk to the way back. And I think that there's a lot of common thread, throughout the sport in the love for those type of events and also missing them, and it's great to see the blow up and the explosion and all of this great growth. But there's a common thread in all of us, and it's one of those things where, these people, I've been lucky enough to find it in a lot of my newfound class friends too, like you go to their town and they expect you to stay with them. And, and I'm sure that I would imagine that Bruce probably had a couple people staying at his house this week, and he was probably just as proud to host them for an event like that as he was to, to come out on top with the win there, at his new home course, or his current home course. And, that's really good stuff. I really like that kind of thing. Those are great stories.
Yeah. I can't remember. I know I played around with Bruce, and I'm pretty sure it was at the 99 Worlds. I can't be sure 100%, but I was definitely, because I remember I used to collect, or I was aware of back in the 90s, there were many attempts at playing cards. And I remember he was one of the early, and I couldn't remember, it was the 2 of hearts or 10 of diamonds, I don't know. But I remember seeing him, and I think he was throwing a forearm, and it was off a rock, and I was like, oh my God. And then I finally met him. I was playing in the round with him. I was like kind of hero worshiping him at the same time. It was great.
Bruce still to this day has a gum putt. And he's had it used to be bright white when he first got it, I assume, but it's got so much patina on it from where he's used it for years and years. And he used it in the Tim Selinski. I mean, it's just the gummiest putter you'll ever touch. And I mean, he's known for that putter around here. It's just, it looks nasty now, but
that's so interesting how that, like those, I mean, that's such a touch putt too. Like, like I've never gotten along. Beyond just that specific thing, but how much of an individual thing this game is, obviously, but specifically the putter. I mean, we probably all three like something completely different than the others. When it comes to putters, I've never gotten along with anything that wasn't stiff. I mean, it needed to be a rigid top disc for me. If it was soft, I found that I turned them over a lot, and just overpowered them, I guess is a better way of putting it. But, I grew up with my game. I say I grew up in the DFW area, and we have the same kind of thing with all these guys from Oklahoma that used to use those Kitty Hawks, which even go further back than the gum putts. And I still know of a couple of people that have those in their bag too. And, that was the first $200 disc I ever saw. These guys are like, oh yeah, he just bought that for 200. I was like, you gotta be bullshitting me, you bought that for $200, and then you see it and it was in great condition. But man, like those gum putts, man, that's an archive disc for sure.
Yeah, he still uses it. I mean, it's just amazing how much patina that thing has on it. It's really nasty looking, but
it makes you become aware of how much oils there are in the hand to transfer,
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, I started out with a JK. I've tried other putters, but I'm back to the JK. That's the one that I can putt and approach with, and I feel confident in it. But yeah, I always do the JKs.
So let's talk about, I mean, we're going to get into the whole PDGA side, and that's a very important dimension to your experience with disc golf. But one thing we like to ask people about is the circumstances of their PDGA number. And I think it's particularly poignant, especially because I was looking at your Instagram account, and December 24th, 2021, the PDGA hit 200,000. You joined in 2007,
Yeah.
and your PDGA number is 33115.
Uh-huh.
That's a pretty special number. Did you request that, or was that just randomly generated?
No, that was just randomly generated. I got lucky, not only with the number, but it was easy to remember. I couldn't imagine if I had a 253,000 number. I'm just like, yeah, let me get my card out.
253,106.
It's like, that just amazes me. And it's like 2007 to now, how many numbers have been given out, and that's your number for life. It's,
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah.
you're current or not, that's your number for life. And that's pretty amazing that they don't recycle those.
I don't think I've been current since maybe 2006, and my
Mhm.
number is 7224, and that's,
Mhm.
I mean, that's ingrained deeper than my social insurance number. That's
Yeah.
just natural. I used to eat, sleep, drink disc golf, and 7224 is just, I use that as a password sometimes.
That is good to know.
I'm sure you probably find
Oh.
that pretty common,
Write
Nothing
that
worth
down.
of value.
as far as
There
you
go.
know.
So let's just jump in really quickly. We're going to do a rapid fire of your favorites.
Okay.
What's your favorite disc?
Oh, Valkyrie,
Okay.
That's a good answer.
versatile.
And your favorite course that you like to play.
Dexter.
Sounds good.
I know it's my home
Understandable.
course, but I've been on a lot of courses, and Dexter's is home.
Nice.
What's your favorite tournament to play in? Or
Oh.
to attend, really, honestly.
Oh, to attend. Junior Worlds.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Hands down, Junior Worlds. I love their faces and excitement. Love it.
Yeah, there's probably very, very, very little bitching from the players at that event.
Maybe from the parents.
Did I say that out loud? Oh, none of our
From the
players
parents.
bitch. Never mind. Excuse me.
Some from the parents, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a
just the
whole. Never
excitement.
mind.
They have
Never
a
mind.
they have a light that you don't see at these Pro Tour events. And, you look at them and then you're kind of sad because, maybe they'll lose that light if they keep going. I just, it's
one thing
amazing.
That's one thing about doing clinics though, too, is that you can help
Mhm.
that light turn on, you know what I mean? And
Yep.
that's really a special experience when you actually tell somebody, because a lot of times you tell them disc golf pointers and it doesn't set in right away. A lot of times you need a couple of days or at least a day to think about it and then go back to practicing at it. But if you can tell somebody, like, for instance, Craig Leva taught me years ago that if you push down with your thumb, like if you push forward with your thumb, it's going to
Mhm.
force you to throw a hyzer, and you're never going to turn that shot over unless it's just a flippy disc that has no hope of flying with a hyzer. And I've showed people that I can't not turn this over. I can't not turn this over. Here, look, just cock your hand like this. And then they threw it and they're just like, oh my goodness, what are you going to shoot? What are you going to teach me next? And I'm like, I'm not sure it's going to work that good on the next one, but let's at least go with that for now, because you just never know. Anyways, go ahead, B.
Okay, you've traveled, you've logged a lot of miles, you've done a lot of movement around the country.
Yep.
For you, whether on the clock or just ready to play a game, what is your favorite disc golf destination?
Ooh, favorite disc golf destination. It has to be Rock Hill, South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially for the championships when they got the ropes up and everything.
Yeah.
I got an idea what your next answer might be, but what's your favorite volunteer experience?
My favorite volunteer experience.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many.
Yeah.
Why would you think that you know what this answer is?
Just because I might. I could be completely
That's
wrong.
not scripted.
But I can
That's
think of
not
a couple
scripted.
different things. I could actually
Yeah.
think of 3 right now.
Oh, wow. Because I'm having trouble thinking of favorite volunteer experience. Well, my whole PDGA tenure was volunteer.
I missed that one.
Yeah. So I volunteered for Disc Golf Planet, and that was all volunteer. No,
Yeah.
And that opened up so many doors to me. But oh wow. My favorite volunteer experience. That's a hard one. I can't answer that one.
Sure.
My goodness. I've had so many experiences. and
Well,
good
see,
ones.
Well,
that's
that's
part of the
actually a
thing.
good problem to have, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 I guess so. Wow, goodness. Disc Golf Planet was really fun, but
Yeah, I had some good times there too.
Just being at the USDGC and one of my favorite experiences was when Jonathan Poole entrusted me to do the tee times. And then and I got to announce the tee times when I was just I think I was president of the board at that time. And he asked me to do them, and I butchered so many names. And then I did them this past year, for the ladies, and I skipped a whole card at one time, and Jonathan goes, so yeah, a lot of my volunteer that involved Jonathan Poole was fun. You just
Yeah, he's definitely a treasure and one of a kind, without a doubt. And
yeah, yeah. So
someone I'm
I
definitely
want to
happy.
hear. I want to hear what you were
Oh,
thinking.
I was thinking that it might have something to do with USDGC, but I was
Oh
also
yeah.
thinking that it might have something to do with the St. Jude event that you're involved in too, which
Oh
is
my goodness.
a
Yeah,
pretty big milestone there as well.
that was
And that was, I mean, like that was definitely some familiar and probably some very unfamiliar situations in that one too.
yeah. Yeah, the St. Jude's, I wish we still had that going on. I mean, that was just that was an it could have been a really national treasure for disc golf, and it would be great if we could get that back.
Well, maybe the time's right for that. You never know. I mean, at this point,
Yeah,
with the momentum that we've gained in the years since, because I mean, I remember coming. I was visiting other friends in the Bay Area when that was going on,
yeah.
and they drove me down to say hi to you and see what was going on
Hmm.
down there, and that was pretty fun. That was a
Yeah,
good time.
yeah. I remember they had that raffle with the banana, what was it? The sunglasses. No, it's not Banana Republic. It's the
Banana boat.
Yes, Banana Boat sunglasses. Everybody, is it Banana Boat? That doesn't sound right.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're
Mhm.
really expensive sunglasses. And Kevin McCoy was sitting beside me. We had our tickets out, and I didn't have my reading glasses on. I couldn't read my ticket. And they called out that number, and Kevin McCoy goes, "It's you. It's rigged. It's you." I won those. I still have those sunglasses. I don't think I've I
Nice.
don't think I've ever worn them. They're
That's
still in the
hilarious.
case, and I've thought about giving them away, but it's just a memory that I'd like to hold on to. It's just Kevin McCoy sitting beside me saying it's rigged.
Well, everybody loves Big Kev.
So
Yeah, we had him on a while back.
he's a
Yeah.
great guest. So let's we're gonna jump into some of the larger questions and larger topics, and I want to kind of reset the clock a little bit. I want to take you back to 2011. You co-wrote an excellent article in the Eugene Register Guard regarding the push for the installation in the West Alton Park. Is that Dexter? Is that
Alton
that?
Baker. Alton
Alton
Baker.
Baker?
Yes. Hmm.
And that's really important, especially to Eugonians. Is that how?
Yes.
Okay. I
Yeah.
mean, Steve Prefontaine,
Hmm.
local, regional, municipal, national treasure. That was his park. That was his track. And so
Yes.
you wrote this article talking about the benefits of disc golf, but also the pushback that you got from the Oregon Track Club. And what I found really interesting and important in that article was, which you co-wrote, I should say. You didn't
Yeah.
the full byline, but you talked about the specifically using the language to talk to bureaucrats, to talk to the public. As disc golfers, for those of us who started back in the day, I always felt, I don't know, maybe I project this, but I feel like I'm talking to my teacher when I'm going to someone in position of authority at Parks Department. And so I always feel in that lesser relationship, lesser power. But
Hmm.
what you have done here with this article is you've kind of given the language of empowerment for talking, one-to-one to city council, and you invoke the Eugene City Sustainability Initiative and this triple bottom line, which is environmental health, economic prosperity, and social equity. Maybe you can talk to us about that specific drive to get that course in the ground, because that seems like that really cemented Oregon in terms of setting the stage for the national prestigious events that started to follow, the 2013 U.S. Women's Championships, the Pro Worlds, and yada yada yada. So why don't you take us back to that time?
Yeah, so this was actually brought to them before the city, and we just needed a course in Eugene. I mean, we were running this tournament called the Eugene Celebration in Dexter, and we wanted to have a course in Eugene, and now we have 2 courses in Eugene. That's it. Eugene is huge. It's a big tract town, as you probably read from that article, and it was this tract of land, beautiful tract of land. Great. We were thinking at first a 9-hole course, and then we expanded it to an 18-hole course. But the tract of land came with 2 issues. Prefontaine Trail, which runs, it's a running trail that he actually ran through, and then also the Cutler Theater, which sits in behind it. And so when there's a concert going on, we do have to move our baskets in Alton Baker. But the city really didn't know anything about disc golf. And, instead of trying to explain it in a group, we just started doing one-on-one conversations. And I learned this from being a volunteer for the American Cancer Society and going and trying to get more funding for cancer research. We do one-on-ones. We don't do a whole group setting. So having that interpersonal relationship with each delegate that sits on the council really helped our cause and really helped move disc golf into Eugene. And it was a team effort. It was all of us together to the point where we had they had these I forget what they called them, but they were almost like mashups. Like, we would design the layout, and this is how the layout would be, and each group would design a layout and present it, and we had all this like workshops with these council people and the people who decide what goes in. So that was a big turning point for Eugene, because once that got approved, Andrew Rich just they needed somebody, a concessionaire. Andrew Rich just really took that and ran with it and put a course in with the help of other people, that helped design it. So after that, we had that in with the city council. They knew about disc golf, and after the first year, they go, okay, this could really, really do, be something. The U of O made that their practice course, their club, and because it's just in walking distance from, pretty much Autzen Stadium. Autzen Stadium's right down the street. So they made that their practice club, but not only that, kids could go there, anybody, families could go there and just pay a nominal fee. And, Andrew had disc for them if they didn't have disc. It became a really big thing, to the point where I was asked to be on the city planning committee for Susie Arley property, which was at the time, like, I believe it was 300 acres at first. And I sat on the city planning committee. I was representing disc golf. Somebody else was representing bike trails. Another person was representing bird watching. Another person was representing running and jogging trails and walking trails. And so we all did this collaborative thing. We got on the master plan for that property. And then they bought more property. They bought 500 more acres. And then the city planning committee, after it got on the master plan, just kind of dissolved. And so now we're just in a waiting period. But because of what we did with Alton Baker, I got a seat on the city planning committee to put disc golf on that Susie Arley property. And then other members have gone to meetings, and we've, anytime there's ever a meeting or a survey, we put it out on social media and go, hey, you want this course in? You got to do this. And for some reason, it's really hard. It's really hard to get a disc golf course in In Oregon, unless it's a state park, we're the first, and hopefully the Susie Arley property, it'll happen, 3 to 5 years, and it's been 8 years since we started that. And that's how long it's taken to work with this government. But now I'm going back and I'm asking for more, because this could be a championship course. And we could do like Tim Selinski at one location instead of 4, or we could do worlds at one location instead of 4.
Yeah,
They
it's most people don't understand the time frame. I mean, I've had people tell me in the past, oh, well, we got a club now, the city's going to listen to us, and it's like, good luck with that. Yeah, that's what they've been waiting for, was you to get a
Right.
club and to put a little t-shirt on and go down there or a golf shirt or a hat or whatever. That doesn't matter. You're gonna get in with them when they want you to. And that's interesting that you said you've been waiting that it's gonna happen in another 5 years, and you've already been waiting 8.
Yes.
And so there you go, 13-year program. I mean, I've had conversations with people recently, and I talked to them and said, hey, we want to design a course. Well, first and foremost, that is not your opportunity unless you went and got it. If
Right.
that's Joe's opportunity over there, then you need to leave Joe alone and let Joe have his opportunity. And then you need to go and start scouting for your opportunity, whether
Yeah.
that's in a park and you go find a park that's not being used right now for that purpose, or whether it's a friend of yours that has land, or if it's just a like kind of what your liquid situation with Tom. I think that's
Yeah.
brilliant. And there's been some guys around here in this area that have done that too.
Mhm.
And I know that B has done that at least for mini golf courses on top of it, as well as probably some, portable target events as well. But
Right.
We do it every year.
I think that's brilliant. And I think that's a good time. And honestly, that's some of the stuff that, I think is lost right now too, is that,
Mhm.
people going out and doing that. And, how else are you supposed to get this experience? Well, you earn it, and then you earn it, and then you earn it, and that's how
Yeah.
it goes.
Yeah, so one of the things in our area is huge, is homeless. And I know that there's homeless all over the United States, but our parks have been really overwhelmed with homeless. And so there was a BLM property, and that was in the works. Matt Benich from our area kind of took that under his wing and worked with the BLM property. And the Bureau of Land Management, that's a federal government property.
They got a lot of land under their management.
Yeah, so
I think more than anybody else, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, Oregon is covered with BLM property. So when this course went in, and Matt Benich, he really headed up a lot of it. And he was the face of Stuart Pond Air for a while. But when that course went in, it is the first course that was ever on BLM land.
wow.
And that was right here in Eugene. They even took a drone, and I just found this out from one of our OGs, Eugene Fackler. They actually took a drone and droned the whole property, sent it to Washington, and said, this is what is going on here. Well, we just had a major on that property, and it was the first major ever on BLM property. And it's stuff like that, and that goes all the way back to Washington. I mean, the Dexter State Park is actually leased by the state parks from the Army Corps of Engineers. I mean, if my creek is flooding, we have to call the dam, the Dexter Dam, and then they have to call Washington to see if they can adjust the water, because Washington has that final say to adjust the dam here in Dexter, Oregon.
That's part of land management.
Yeah, and it's a lot of red tape you have to go through, but you have to be diligent. You have to just be patient, and unless you buy the property yourself, you're going to wait. If you're working with a city or federal government, I mean, or even state, you're going to have to wait. And they're starting.
Wait until you get your club, at least,
Yeah, they're starting to take notice of disc golf now, and so maybe that'll change things, maybe not, but you just have to keep pushing and be patient.
Well, maybe after what happened this last weekend, and maybe Mace, you can delve right into that, because that was kind of a big deal what happened this last weekend.
Maybe a little.
Well, let me jump right in there. So, yeah, it was kind of a big deal. I mean, just from the name alone, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how well you knew Tim, but that he was one of the nicest guys I ever met in disc golf. I mean, and there was lots and lots of, I was fortunate or unfortunate, depending on your perspective, enough to play as poorly as he usually did at the World. So we could almost always count on playing at least one round together at the World Championships. And a lot of times I got to play with Harold too. And sometimes when I was particularly lucky, I got to play with them both at the same time, which was phenomenal. But anyways, that being said, enough about me. Let's talk about what you did this weekend in running the Tim Selinski U.S. Masters.
I just showed up.
Excuse me, you're assistant tournament director. I don't want to take any credit away, but
Right.
I'm fully aware of what an assistant tournament director that lives 3 minutes away from one of the main courses has on their plate. So let's hear about it.
Well, I mean, I don't know what I was thinking.
I wonder how many tournament directors would say that on the Wednesday after.
I
What
mean,
in
it's
the-
it's not my first major, and I definitely would have never dreamed about running another one. Actually, no, I really like running. I complain about being tired and all that, but I'm thinking about bidding, for another one. Um, so yeah, I was the assistant tournament director. I had to find a tournament director, and Matt Lloyd was listed. He was my first pick, but he was just so busy, and then Bear, went to a thing. And so, I decided I needed to find another one. And Callie's name came up. I mean, she's run a lot of, B tiers and stuff, but never a major. So this was really new for her. But I couldn't be tournament director because I work for the PDGA. And
okay.
yeah. And so that makes sense because, assistant tournament directors don't do that much work, as you know, Brian. That was so much
Yeah.
sarcasm. So much
It's
sarcasm.
just a cakewalk. I mean, you could
Yeah.
just pretty much show up on Saturday and everything would
Yeah.
go right,
I
right?
mean, got out of bed, went over the course, and hey, there's this major going on.
3 minutes later, I blew
Show
the
up
2-minute
late,
board.
leave early.
Yeah, so first of all, we were the first two female tournament directors of a major ever. So we broke that record.
Nice.
Holly was the youngest PDGA major TD at
That's
26 years
also
old.
nice. She's only
Mhm.
26. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know her all that well. Like I said, someone mentioned her Pete mentioned her a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I said, yeah, I know her, and the more I know her, the more I like, and
Yeah.
every time I've hung out with her, I've had a good time, but it hasn't been a lot of times, unfortunately. I'm
Right.
just still getting to know her.
Yeah. She has the soul and the I don't know, she acts like a 44-year-old sometimes, but then she acts like a 26-year-old. I mean, she's making it out there. But
Obviously.
second, we had the most competitors ever. So we broke that record. And
Wow.
then and that's what we wanted. I talked to Callie, and I said, listen, you don't have to do hardly anything. I said, I just need you as my tournament director. She actually did help out quite a bit. But it has been a dream of mine to bring a major to our area. And we don't have the huge courses like everyone else does. Our courses are spread out because of what we have to deal with when we're dealing with the government. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because I love our government here. I mean, but we need more courses. So if any of the government from Oregon's watching, we need more courses here in Eugene area. But so we have our course in Dexter, we have our Stewart Pond, but we also have this Camp Serene, which is the name is very fitting because it's like an enchanted forest, and everything's spread out. So if you were at Camp Serene and you had to say, we did shotgun starts, but we never do that anymore. It's all tee times. But if you were at Camp Serene and you had to go to Circle Bar, it would take you about an hour and a half to get there. That's how hard our courses were. Now from Dexter to Circle Bar, it was like 25 minutes. Beautiful drive, everybody. And I was really surprised. No one complained about, and that was one of the biggest things I was worried about because we were so spread apart, but no one complained about the drives because I have to say the drives are gorgeous.
Well,
And
you're playing one round a day, right?
yeah, one round a day, tee times. So you're only going to one course. You don't have to rush anywhere else. But the drive from, out to Dexter is gorgeous. But past Dexter, 25 more minutes is Circle Bar and Oak Ridge. And you're passing some of this most scenic highway ever on Highway 58. Because you look to your left, you have a lake, you have Dexter Lake. And then you have Lookout Dam, and then you have Lookout Lake, which is huge. And then it runs into the Willamette River, and it's just a gorgeous drive. You may see an elk on the way. You may, the course that we used, the golf course that we used, they are well known to have about 80 elk on their golf course in the mornings.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're pretty used to damage. So they really open their arms to us with disc golf. And it's like, what more damage could disc golf do? So
That's a good point. That's
there's a lot
interesting perspective, though. I didn't realize you were including that kind of a drive, and
Yeah.
that's all kind of a thing in the past.
Mhm.
I remember. So I played in the '94 Am Worlds that Jim Oates ran in the Sacramento area, and they used Orangevale and Schweitzer Park, and then they used. Okay, well, wait a minute, it gets better. All right, they also used Auburn and Grass Valley. And if you're familiar with that geography,
Yeah.
the difference between Orangevale and Auburn is at least 40 minutes, and Grass
Yeah.
Valley is another 20 to 25 minutes deeper into the hill country from there. And so we played those two courses one day, and we'd play Auburn and Schweitzer the next. But that was back in the old school Worlds days where you'd play, 2 rounds on 4 different courses, and then you'd play the final, or the semis and the finals on Saturday. So, you're talking about 8 or 10 rounds, 8 to 10
Yeah.
rounds, depending on, well, I was playing 8 rounds. Other people got to play the 9th and the 10th round. But that being said, that's one of the few times I ever saw a drive like that, like what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
back then, that was one of the only times I ever saw them attempt it, and it really actually truly worked. But they talked about running world championships around here in the DFW area, and they could certainly pull it off if everybody could get along, which is absolutely never going to happen. And when I say that, I mean like from one club to the next, about who's going to be the club that's in charge, who's going to play sick and fiddle, what courses are we going to use, what aren't we going to use. But a lot of the talk when it really actually kind of gained momentum around here, they were talking about using courses that were 90 minutes apart. And it's like, you don't understand what you're asking these people. You haven't been to an event like this, first of all. And it's not reasonable. That's just, for one round a day, it's totally reasonable. And a drive like you're talking about, like out into the wilderness, like what more do you want? Even if the course did chew you up and spit you out, you're going to have a beautiful drive home.
Yeah.
And everything's legal. So, you just as well enjoy.
Right. That's true. It was absolutely gorgeous, and everything, everything's green here all year round anyway, but everything was in bloom, and even the hardwood trees were out, leaved all up. And so it really, really set the stage, and it's like, we haven't had a drop of rain all May. This is the first Memorial Day weekend that we haven't had rain in like 4 years. It just was absolutely beautiful. So so the first course schedule went out, usually we have a lead with the PDGA. My team, we usually do, we assign somebody to like next year I'm assigned to Junior Worlds.
Who'd have thought it?
And I'm assigned to USDGC every year. So
Who'd
I'm
have
the lead
thought
on
it?
this.
Who'd have thought it?
and college. So, I mean, so I'm the Leesville nose. So,
I think I'm gonna do that one next year too.
which one?
The
The
college.
college. Oh, awesome. So, here I am, assistant tournament director for one of our majors. I don't have a lead. I'm the lead. So I'm doing everything I normally do for the TDs. So, that was a little overwhelming, and my team really, stepped up and helped me out. But, I was doing the course schedule. So I put the course schedule out, and I saw Patrick Brown in Austin at the Austin Open. And he goes, all right, you can switch my division if I can't play Dexter in MP55. I'm going, are you serious? He goes, yeah. He goes, if I can't play Dexter, he goes, I'm not playing MP55. He goes, you switch me to MP50. And I'm like,
Interesting.
okay. Yeah. And so that was the beginning of this whole email thing that I went back to my hotel room and saw all these emails. I want to play Dexter. I want to play Dexter. I had over 30 emails stating people wanted to play Dexter. And then one of my own coworkers reached out. Yeah, people want to play Dexter. Can you make that happen? And I'm like, oh my gosh. So eventually I did it. I had everybody playing Dexter at least one round. And then I got everybody, because we have so much daylight here. I mean, it doesn't get dark here until like 8:45 now.
Wow.
And so we have a lot of daylight. And so I think it was 183 for a final day through at Dexter at 9-minute intervals, and
Wow.
hardly any waiting. So everybody got to play Dexter. And that was I didn't realize Dexter was so popular. I knew that Ken Climo and Will Schuster, Dave Feldberg, Avery Jenkins, Eagle McMahon, they've all played here, but I didn't realize how popular it was until I made a course schedule where some of these groups weren't playing Dexter.
Well, Patrick Brown got your attention and he won the Pro 55. So
yeah.
obviously you appealed to his baser instincts on that one.
Would have been interesting to see. I looked at that division and wondered how those guys would fare in the 50.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I mean, well, I'm 56, so
Yeah.
but I'm not competitive, so that doesn't really concern me much. But I can't help but think about those questions. I mean, I've got other questions too that are about
Did
age divisions, like
Did they play the same tees and everything?
Oh yeah, they played the same tees. Oh yeah, they played the same tees as MP50.
Okay.
The only ones that didn't play the same tees were at Circle Bar, and that was MP40. They played different tees than everybody else.
So Patrick Brown would have come in third in the 50 division.
Mm-hmm.
But Johnny McRae had it locked down anyway, so no
Yeah,
one's
but
taking over his own.
in MP50, they only played Circle Bar and Dexter. MP55 played Serene, Circle Bar, and Dexter.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you can't really compare that anyways.
Yeah, Camp Serene.
So we've touched on this and you alluded to it when talking about your role as assistant TD and why you couldn't have been the main TD because of your job. Let's just segue right into your PDGA career. You're currently the logistics and operations manager for the PDGA. You've said on your Instagram, disc golf isn't part of my life, disc golf is my life. That's if we have to get mandatory tattoos as disc golfers, that's the phrase that we're all going to get. The lifers of us, at least. But it's always good to see that being reinforced. You've worn many hats. You've collected many badges along the way in your PDGA career. Yeah, we've seen board member, board president, media, marshal. Talk to us about your career working with, for, around the PDGA. How did that start? How's it been like? And what are you doing now?
Well, the way it all started is there was a nominating committee when I was elected to the board, and the nominating committee were tasked to find somebody who they thought would represent disc golf in a positive way. And so Todd Andrews and Chris Bellinger came up to me at the Beaver State Fling in 2011 and asked me if I would run for the board. Well, I take that back. That is not true. Uh, I was at the Aloha Sushi in Walla Walla, Washington, playing a disc golf tournament. I get a phone call from them, and they asked me if I would consider running for the board. And then at the Beaver State Fling, they helped me put my whole letter, my resume, and everything together. Yeah, so that's the way it all started. I ran for the board. At that time, the top 2 vote getters would get a 3-year term. Then the rest would get a 2-year term, and there was 4 people elected to the board that year. And so at the 2011 Worlds in Santa Cruz, they announced at the players meeting, which I've never seen it done since that, but it was pretty exciting. They announced at the players meeting who made the board, and the top 2 vote getters was Dave Feldberg and myself. And, and I was a nobody. I was on Disc Golf Planet, and, I did win the Bob West Memorial, but it was like, oh, wow, I'm on the board of directors, and here I am. I was at the Worlds with Disc Golf Planet, and it was amazing. And then that same year, Kevin McCoy got voted in, and so Kevin and I were the rookies together, going on the board. And I think Dave was, he was actual board member before. And then I think Bob Decker got on the board again that year. That was the 4 of us. But yeah, so that's how it all started. And then in 2011, my first board meeting, and I have to say this because, if Chuck is watching, and
He's not tonight, but he might later.
So I have this funny story.
We might not be on Chuck's radar yet.
Yeah.
Well, after this story,
if you start talking rules, you'll be on his radar, or ratings. So we used to have to fill out this tournament director report, that Excel sheet that had, 8 different tabs to it. And it was a little daunting. And
It's a lot better now than it was, for sure.
Yeah. So I have a degree in business, and I'm like, this is not working for me. So I had our first board meeting. Kevin and I were sitting beside each other. That's the year that Kevin pitched the leagues. And
yeah, we had Kevin on, and he told us a bunch about that.
Yeah. And so
Kevin's one of my man, I ran around with him a lot. Like when we were getting ready for his show, I sat there for probably an hour and just thought about all of the memories that I really, really treasure. And he was in almost every one of them. So.
Yeah. So Kevin and I were sitting beside each other, it was our first, we're pretty green, and we're trying to fill out how everything's going. And they started talking about this tournament director report, and they went around to everybody and wanted our opinion. And I said, that thing's stupid. And I had no idea that Chuck is the one who designed that. No idea. I said, that thing is stupid. I said, whoever designed that needs to go back and redesign it and take about 50 tabs. That was a little exaggeration, about 50 tabs on it. And after I had spewed all that, this is my first board meeting, my first summit, I should say.
Welcome, Rebecca Duffy.
Kevin leaned over and he goes, see that vein popping out in Chuck's neck? It's because of you. And I said, why? And he goes, he designed the Drew. Oh no. So that was my first board meeting. But after that, it just skyrocketed up. Just like, I was secretary, and then Dave Nesbitt resigned from the board, so they needed an interim president. Well, Dave Feldberg was vice president at the time, but the board voted me in to be the president for interim, and every year they reelected me. Yeah. It was like, we get new board members, and we would go up for elections every October, and I kept being the board, and then my last year running, Justin Menichelli ran against me because he said, in his words, he wanted me to have some competition, which we all know Justin was not competition for Rebecca. I'm just kidding. But no, so that's what he said. So I got voted in. I told him, I said, this is going to be my last year. I said, because I was going to have to run for the board. And again, I said, it's time to move on to other things. And that was, my PDGA board career. And then, people say I disappeared, but I really didn't. I was marshaling the whole time. That was one thing that I have been doing ever since 2011 is just marshaling. And I really, really love that, going to the events and marshaling. But
Mm.
I marshaled just not as many events after I retired. I say retired from the board, but I started applying for jobs at the PDGA, and it took my first one, it took me 3 times interviewing with PDGA. And
What, they still needed to get to know you?
I guess so. I mean, I don't know what was going on, but Andrew Sweeten gave me a shot, and he wanted me on his event support team. And that's how I got into the PDGA. And then
That's current? That's your
Yeah.
current deal
No,
now?
no.
No,
No,
okay.
so I was on event support, and I'm glad I was on event support, because even though I was a TD and I knew a lot of the stuff, I learned so much from Big Dog, and Todd Lyon was actually on the event support team with me. And I mean, it was just amazing. Like anything disc golf scene or tournament manager, I learned a lot from Amber. Amber, it's Big Dog's daughter. She does all of the, the like the back end stuff of these tournaments. Like she'll create event pages and stuff
Oh,
for you.
yeah.
I
I think
mean,
I get my
mhm.
passwords from her and everything like that.
Yes, she is
Or it's the same
amazing.
password, but it's a different event update and all that, but yeah.
Yeah, so I learned so much. And then when this other job came open, I it was kind of melancholy, because I was really sad, because I really liked event support, but I'm not one to sit at a computer and answer TV's questions. I'd rather be on the ground doing that, and setting up events. And I think they were a little worried that I couldn't carry those tents and everything. And I proved myself over and over that I can carry those tents a lot better than some of my, old co-workers and stuff.
Well,
So
if you can throw an axe and you can shoot a bow, I think you can carry a tent.
yeah,
They didn't
yeah.
check your Instagram feed for that, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, so finally they said, okay, we're hiring you for the events. And and now I'm the operations and logistics manager, along with Robert Leonard and Patrick Graziani, and that's our team. And Jeff DeQuois is actually our boss, and Doug Bjerkes is now all of our bosses. So
Yeah, that's interesting that y'all are picking up a lot of folks that I've known for a while, and that are, that, like, obviously Doug comes to mind. Robert Leonard is another one that comes to mind that, I mean, I didn't even realize that Robert was fishing for that job, and then I see that he's got it, and
yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, what the hell is he talking about? Oh, he left the credit union. Okay. I mean, I don't live there. I mean, I'm friends
Yeah,
with him, and I'm friends with a lot of people in that area, obviously. And so, and I know enough about him to know that that had to have been a high point for him, I mean,
yeah.
position to take that job, and probably to, have already laid groundwork at home to where it wasn't as much of a bump in the road as he thought it might have been, going
Yeah,
from corporate America, going to corporate disc golf.
yeah. Well, I mean, like one of the things in my interview is because one of the things we were lacking out there, and although I was marshaling, we didn't have any women, on the staff out there, and now we do. And I'm not saying that makes a big difference, but it also offers those women out on the tour to be able to approach somebody in a way that maybe they wouldn't be able to approach a man.
Well,
So
hopefully it eliminates intimidation.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And like,
exactly.
I don't think any of us guys want to do that intentionally, but
Right.
I've also had it pointed out to me that it happens without me knowing it all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm obviously way more aware of it than I used to be, but before I
Mhm.
was completely oblivious. And it's like, what are you talking about? They're like, dude, you're big. And I'm like, yeah, but do you know me? I mean, am I really a threat? Unless everything goes down, and then you want to be behind me, obviously. But I mean, I'm still hoping there's going to be a lot tougher people in front of me that are going that same direction.
Right. Right.
So that's a permanent full-time paid position, correct?
Yes.
Because you did
Mm,
say that your positions with the PDJ were voluntary earlier.
right. Yes.
assumed this was a different situation.
Oh, yes, yes. So when I was on event support, that was my first paying job with the
Mm.
PDGA. And that was only 2 years ago.
That's awesome.
Nice. That's very cool. That's very, very cool.
Now,
All right. Go ahead, B.
well, I was gonna say, we've got a couple of different directions to go, but since you were just talking specifically about being a woman out on, being a female representation and face for other women, the pro players out there, that kind of leads naturally into just the concept of the push for women in disc golf.
Mhm.
And maybe people out there are more familiar with these things than I am, but this was a real revelation to me. Your role in the whole founding of the women's global event sprang from a phone call between you and Valerie Jenkins one day, and it basically you've sprang fully formed into existence from that 90-minute phone call or however long it was. um, you started with the 2012 women's global event. There was 636 competitors.
Yes.
By the way, won by Paige Pierce. Shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. How obviously we get now to the latest stats, 2022, the WGE had 129 events, 3,305 players globally. By the way, won by Sandy Hendel, Ontario local, Hurricane Sandy. You've been really outspoken and lightning rod and I think you really bring your organizational, your corporate, and especially with the Cancer Society, your ability to do event management, but also your business background has really brought a lot of legitimacy into making this a really fundamental and organized thing. So maybe you want to talk to us about your role in kind of the explosion of women's disc golf.
Well, so Juliana Corver ran the women's committee for a while, and then when she resigned, it kind of went away, and I wanted to reinvigorate it. And I had to come up with a chair. And at the time, I knew nobody else would be better fitted than Valerie Jenkins, and it was Valerie Jenkins at the time, Valerie Doss now, but I thought she would be the best one. So I reached out to her. I asked her, I said, would you be willing to, be the chair? And she thought about it and got back to me and decided, yes, I'll be the chair. So it all came, from that. And then we had to form a committee. And so the original committee members was Emma Rose Hanley from Oregon. It was Sarah Nicholson, who was who worked for the PDGA as a memberships person at the time. And it was Stephanie Vincent. It was Jenny Sanfilippo, who's doing great things now. As there was somebody else and I cannot remember, but we were
Was
just,
Sarah Holcomb not in that?
no, Sarah Holcomb was not on that at the time. Yeah,
I
not
think
at
she
that
must have
time.
joined later because
Yeah.
she worked for me for a while, and I remember
Mhm.
taking some time to take a couple of calls.
Yeah, she is really into it now. I mean, yeah, but at that time, not at that time, she wasn't on the original women's committee. But we were having a brainstorming session and we were just spewing everything out. And, then we started saying, it's too bad we can't get the women, around the world, to play all in one and have an international. Well, that's how it sprung. The PGA had these ideas of doing a global tournament, and they explained to us, Chuck explained to us on how the ratings would work
And the spreadsheet, don't forget the
and the
spreadsheet.
spreadsheet. Yes. So, that was probably part of that 90 minutes you were talking about there, B. But yeah, and that's how it came to be. And over 600 players for our first one. We thought that was amazing. And then the next time we were going to have it every other year just to give, that break and to get sponsors back up. And, Zuka was on board from day one, which was really awesome. But then we had it the next time. And, with the organization part of it, the PDGA did a lot of it. I mean, it was like Sarah Nicholson really, Vic Allen, who's now our memberships manager, he really has helped in sponsorships and growing. I mean, he'll reach out to anybody and get disc. And this past year, I think they bought the disc and then just sold players packages on our PDGA website to the tournament directors. But I mean, it was just such a team collaborative, and the women that are on the women's committee now, they just renewed it again. We have so many international women on there. You went through an interview process, and I mean, I think there's like 15 on there now, which is just amazing, and it's something that we absolutely need. We need fresh minds coming in every so often just to give us fresh ideas and to be present. I mean, the meetings are Zoom calls or something. We didn't have that back. We had the telephone call along with the board meetings. We did it all by telephone, which is not fun. I mean, it's not fun at all.
That's another benefit of the pandemic. Like, everybody got really good at this kind of thing right here.
Yeah, everybody knows Zoom now. I mean, we didn't have that. If I had Zoom, well, it's probably a good thing I didn't have Zoom, because there's a lot of meetings or board meetings where I would just roll my eyes sometimes. But can't do that on Zoom. No, but
sometimes people need to see that, though.
Yeah, it's like, but I mean, the women's committee, I mean, they're just on fire. And I really do think that the next Women's Global, which I believe is next year, they're starting to do it every other year again. I believe it's going to be bigger and better. And we're going to have, record-breaking numbers and record-breaking sponsors and record-breaking TDs. It seemed, I know we had a lot of TVs last time, but it just seemed like it just wasn't as, and maybe we were still tired from the pandemic and, trying to get back into that groove. But, and also we had it in August, which I wouldn't say that was a mistake, but it was just different than having it in May around Mother's Day. So
yeah, that's probably a better time, especially if you're going to do it in, like most of the southern states are not going to be very pleasant in August compared to May. And I mean, man, we still haven't cracked 100 yet this year, which is unusual.
And it's really hard to plan a date when it's international, because it may be snowing in Sweden or it may be doing something in Japan, and it's really hard to plan a date. But with all the growth that we've had with PDGA memberships and everything, females are still only at 7%. And that makes me so angry, because I want to give up. Ever since I was a board member and president of the board, it's been 7%.
This is a dude fest. Have you not told them yet?
We have to break that barrier. I mean,
this is a target-rich environment.
I know. It's like, I
think honestly, the more that people see, representation, equity, those are really important things. And when people see that other people who are like them are successful, or even not successful, they're doing it and they're having a good time. And the presentation of that, that can really spark a whole movement. But it's got to start somewhere. It's got to, from small beginnings, grow large things. And, just in the 10 years since it started, not that it was every year, that's phenomenal growth from 600 to 3,300. And, just sit back and strap yourself in, get your popcorn and get ready for the future, really.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I think one of the things that maybe we, and I would like to concentrate on, or maybe the women's committee could concentrate on, is how do we turn those players that play in the Women's Global, how do we turn them over into playing more on a regular basis? How do we do that? I mean, because
and I'd say a half step before that too is how do you get those folks to be the promoter for your next women's global event as well? Because I think that, I mean, as obviously my brother and I are both sticking our feet back in the pool pretty fully, and And, you know, like, I'm just sitting here thinking as a tournament director, I personally don't know anything about it. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm not as up to speed as other people are, but people like me need to know, you know. So I mean, that the people that like Paul and I are the kind of people that are definitely going to jump on board with something like that. So maybe that's
Mhm.
one part of your focus, and then the other part should be to like turn those other people into those folks that have already played into your biggest promoters, because I mean, they already know. You're not having to sell it to them. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, that's true. That's
So let
true.
me ask you a question. Why do you think it's still 7%? And and do you really think that's ever going to change?
Um,
And
my
I'm just
optimism.
asking it. I'm
Yeah.
asking it partially because I've been watching for a really long time,
Mm-hmm.
and and it's kind of hard at the 30-year mark to look at all the things that we've done, like
Mm-hmm.
as a tournament director and as just players, but especially as tournament directors. Like, I don't know a single tournament director anywhere that hasn't been over backwards and then jumped through a flaming hula hoop to make a woman happy at their event. And
Right.
and you know, as someone who's run a skins match for the ladies 20 of the 22 years that I've run my tournament, and it was only not those 2 years because there was no participation from the ladies' side. I
Mm-hmm.
can't help but ask these questions, like, what is it that we're not doing right here, or what is it that or is it that just that most women like y'all are even more of an exception to the rule, and most women just don't care to hang out with us?
Well,
And I don't
my
mean it like as a personal
yeah,
thing,
I
like
know.
it's just like this is a big herd of dudes and I don't want anything to do with it, you know? I
Right.
mean,
Right. Well, I think my optimism wants to say, yes, we're going to beat that 7%. But then also reality is we are, this is, and I even hate these words coming out of my mouth. This is a male dominant sport. And I don't know why, because, we have these fantastic women on tour that are really putting on a show every weekend.
and there seems to be
And
more of them all the time too that are
right.
fully capable of putting on a
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, exactly. And but there's only so many that are elite players. I
And
mean,
that's
if you look at the numbers, when you're, just like Portland, I mean, you have 100 and some males, but then you only have so many females, is because they can't get more females to sign up. It's just like all female tournaments around here. We're having troubles getting females to sign up. So whether it's maybe because of childcare, or maybe it's because I, I don't even know where to start. But my optimism wants to get that above 7%. But reality is, until we can, and I don't know whether it's making them feel comfortable, or coming out and playing, maybe just some women's events. Maybe we
I
need
was
to offer
that
more
was one
women's
thing that I was
events.
thinking about when you asked the question, what is part of the
Mhm.
cause? And one of them certainly could be that how much fun is it for you to go with your big burly boyfriend and his three big burly friends, and you're throwing three times before they get to their first shot? I mean, that's not fun. You know,
No,
that's
no.
there's nothing fun about that unless
But
you're a very different kind of person and you can just isolate yourself from those other three and just go, okay, this is what I'm doing today
Yeah. Well,
versus the
see,
scores.
and that might be where I'm a little different than most women, because, I was the only woman on the course, at doubles here, but I learned so much from playing. I
yeah.
mean, I'm a really fast player because I had to play with the guys and keep up with them. So, I knew my shots, before, but not all women are comfortable playing with a big bunch of dudes, and that's
And
okay.
that's
That's
totally
okay.
understandable. That's totally
Yeah.
understandable. And so that, I mean, I think that that's certainly an obvious downfall of the current model is that, you know,
Yeah.
that most of the time you're going with your boyfriend and
Hmm.
he's getting together with two other friends and there's no other chick out here. Like, look,
Right.
nowhere. Like it's the only other
Yeah.
females out here are animals, you
Yeah.
know,
Well,
birds and squirrels and whatever else, rabbits.
yeah, and it depends on what area you're in also, because Eugene area, we have a little bit of a women's, group. It's building, but it's just not consistent. But in Portland, you have the Women of God, and they're huge. And Portland is also the place, and this is the reason I had the women's nationals there in 2013, because Cindy McMahon, who just got inducted into the Oregon Hall of Fame, first woman to be inducted, just at Tim Selinski, they did it at the players meeting. She started the Chick Flick.
I was going to talk to
And
you about that.
yeah, so the Chick Flick started off as just monthlies. Like she would get all these women together, just go to a different course each month, just once a month. And then she started having this tournament. Well, this tournament was designed, and I love the layout of this tournament, because Saturday was clinics, all day clinics. You learn how to putt, you learn the etiquette of disc golf, you learn how to drive. And she brought in people that could teach these different skills and forehand, everything. So that was all day Saturday. And then Sunday was the sanctioned part of it. And you had the option to play on Sunday if you were comfortable enough to play in the sanctioned part. And a lot of people, there weren't too many people that would just show up on Saturday and not Sunday. And so that grew to be one of the biggest and largest women's events in the United States. And that was because she started off with monthlies. And it was just, and I missed the Chick Flick. They didn't have it this year because Cindy retired, and and they didn't have it. And I really miss it. I was looking, that would be one time I would be home from my traveling so that I could go attend the Chick Flick. But, it's stuff like that. And I know Texas has a big women's group. And
Texas
next year,
Women's Championship,
Mhm.
yeah.
Next year, the women's is going to be in Texas, Round Rock.
Yeah.
We're working out the dates with that. I mean, this year it's going to be in Burlington. So
North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I love Burlington. Burlington's awesome.
yeah. So I mean,
That's a great place too, because it's two courses. And are you guys going to set up another course there, or is it just going to be the two? Or
I'm not sure. I think there's a new course that they're going to that just went in or something. Yeah, Robert Leonard knows more about that one, but
I don't know if he's still watching or
seriously,
not. Fire it
yeah.
up, Robert. Let us know.
Yeah.
He was watching earlier.
Yeah. So I
So
mean, this is what it's kind of interesting, because in 2013, before that, there were only, I think it was like 70 some players that would come out of women. In 2013, when it was Oregon, there was over 100. And then it went back down the next year, forget what location it was, and then it started going up and up. And last year, wow, in Madison, I mean, it was just
that was
amazing.
massive.
Yeah, we had the
Well,
biggest group of FPO that we've ever had.
Wow.
Madison's really an amazing golf city too. And like that was such a good walk down memory lane for me, because well, I mean, High Stand and Elver are obviously great courses in the city, but then Token Creek, man, I remember when they talked about that course going in, and and the methods that they were implementing on installing it and treating it more like a ball golf course from the installation side of things. And then also really cool passes. You had to have a membership of whether it was a daily or a weekly or a monthly or an annual pass.
Mhm.
And if the park ranger would go backwards on the course and to reinforce the pass permits, and if you didn't have one, you had to buy an annual pass on site, or before you got out of there, or you got a ticket.
Wow.
And and I mean, I think that's that's a perfect way of dealing with it. Oh, what, you're gonna skip? Okay, well, sorry, but you're not gonna skip. So, and just watching that video last summer and seeing some of those holes and just remembering, oh, I remember that hole. I remember that one too. Now I remember that I missed this course a lot. And just like, I mean, we used to stay with Drummond's parents there in Madison. His
Mhm.
parents would leave town and just give us the house. And they
Wow.
lived in their dad, John's dad, John and Eric's dad was a professor there at the University of Madison, or University of Wisconsin in Madison. And they lived in the house that used to be the dairy farmer's house at the turn of the century from the 1800s to the 1900s that raised the, the cattle and the milk and everything that went to the school to feed the students.
Wow.
And I mean, that house was fabulous. And they just would turn, the boys would come to town and mom and dad would leave. They'd see us for a couple of days and then they'd leave like Thursday evening and then go away and then come back Monday. And it was pretty sweet. I've had a lot of good times in Madison.
But, getting back to the women, I mean, if there's any women watching, just encourage, bring a friend out. I mean, it's amazing how hooked these women will get if they're in a group of other women. And, and I travel so much, I can't even attend my own women's league now, but, so,
That's
Well,
part of your evolution, though.
one
yeah.
of the things that I found really interesting about that chick flick, especially, I mean, there was a great report, I think, from someone who was deeply involved with it. She put a lot of photos up and a little essay
Mhm.
on there, and it's I think what's important, at least to get to break the barrier to get people into the game, is to make it less like a tournament and more, you know, more welcoming, more embracing. There was, like
Mhm.
you said, there's the clinics at the beginning, but also if women were coming with their men, the men were caddies, the men were helpers, the men were shagging
Exactly.
discs.
Mhm.
They were not center stage. It was about the women, but it wasn't about this head-to-head competition necessarily, which it did ultimately come down to that. But and I think maybe that's one of the ways that we can really break the ice and get more women involved, is if they don't see it specifically as, I don't know anything about disc golf, so I can't go play.
Right. Yeah, I guarantee if you go back on the rosters of all the chick flicks, you'll see you'll see a couple of the women that are on tour now. That
Nice.
kind of, that
That's-
played in those chick flicks.
Well, going back to that 7% thing, one thing that goes against that really nicely is the number of women in comparison to the number of men. I mean, it's got to be,
Mhm.
it's like, it's two men to one woman on the tour
Yeah.
right now, or just a little under that. So that's great. I mean,
Mhm.
that's what's really amazing is
Yeah.
how much top talent is coming to the top, to the top level in that situation. So
We can't let you get out of here without talking about the Bob West Sportsmanship Award, Sportswomanship Award. Just really an iconic thing. And we talked to Andy Lehman Young, was our last guest,
Mhm.
and she was talking about being honored as the Sportswoman of the Year, and what an honor that is. The Bob West is one of the official PDGA awards that are given out. And just to put this into perspective, you started playing in 2007 and you won it in 2009.
Yeah.
That's mind blowing, first of all, but second of all, that really speaks volumes to who you are and how you comported yourself and how you approached the whole thing. So maybe I know you've already talked about this. You talked about being nominated by your son, but if you don't mind, maybe you could just go over that whole process again of how you won and what it meant to you at the time.
Yeah. So that was wow. That obelisk is that means a lot to me, that obelisk. So at the time I didn't um know what it meant. I read about, on PDGA about them wanting nominations and everything. And the way that I found out that I won is that I was sitting in Dairy Queen with my dad, who had he had Alzheimer's at the time, early stage Alzheimer's. And I was sitting in Dairy Queen with my dad having an ice cream, and I get this phone call from Georgia. And I answered the phone and it was, Rebecca, is this Rebecca Duffy? And I'm going,
maybe.
I'm going, yes. He goes, this is Brian Graham. I'm the executive director of the Professional Disc Golf Association.
Nice.
I'm going, oh,
I've
hey,
never really thought about Brian having that much of a draw, but I'm not from
he
Oregon either.
does. And I'm going, I said, hey, Brian. And I said, what can I do for you? And he goes, I wanted to let you know that you were nominated and voted, and you just won the 2009 Bob West Memorial. And I'm going, I did what? And he goes, you won the Bob West Memorial Sportsmanship Award. And he read the nomination letter, and it was written by my son and his
Did you
English
even know that
teacher.
he sent that?
No clue.
That's
No clue.
badass.
Yeah, and his English teacher helped him write it, and he wrote a beautiful letter, and just stating, because one of the things I did, one of the things that happened with me was, like Don Richter gave me that Star Leopard, and that was my first disc. Great disc, it was a 150. I'm a beginner. That was a perfect disc for me to start out with.
Yep.
And you see these, I'd be on the course and I would see these max weight, drivers in these ladies and these little kids, or even a beginner's hands. And I bought disc and kept in my bag. And so if I saw that, I'm going, here, try this, but throw it just the way you threw that, but try this. And they would just bomb it out there, to be straight. They hit their line, and and they go,
And the light goes on.
Yeah. And they go, well, here's your disc back. I'm going, no, that's for you. And my son was always with me when I did that. And I had him do it, to another kid. And I never knew how much he noticed that, but he put that in his letter, and he goes, when my mom was sick, because I'm a cancer survivor, and, when my mom was sick and she'd be out there on the course, doesn't matter how far away they were, if she saw someone throwing with a heavy driver, she would take a disc out of her bag and hand it to her, and hand it to that player. And then he said, and she's always picking up stuff off the course, working on the course, just really, really beautiful written letter. And, he ended it up by saying, he goes, if I ever lost my mom to cancer or anything else, he goes, I have these memories of her and how passionate she was,
Wow.
About disc golf. And still this day, I'm very passionate about this game, and it hurts my heart when somebody tries to hurt it. And, it's such a great game for the whole family. And he took notice. And, every time I look at Bob West, and by receiving that award, I felt like I couldn't let up. I wasn't going to let up, and I never did let up. And I keep going and going and trying to figure out ways to improve our sport and make it enjoyable for everyone, not only the top level players, but also these players that are just getting into it, by providing more information and more avenues that they could go down and become part of our sport.
Well, certainly being the leader, leading by example, always showing people that this is a game about compassion. It's not, it's about the most fun that wins, but also holding yourself and others to a higher standard of accountability. And that goes back to the triple bottom line. We all have our own triple bottom line. It's got to feed our mental health, but also one of the early words that I first became aware of when I started playing disc golf was this word karma. People would pick up, a piece of garbage off the course and say that's got to be good karma, thinking they were going to bank a birdie in the future. But you never know; you could get a Bob West later down the road.
Yeah, exactly.
But just to put it into perspective, the first ever winner of the Bob West, John Ahart, the first woman, that was in 1987. The first woman, Patty Kunkel, in 1991. There's a total of 6 women who won the award: Patty, Sharon Jenkins in 2005. Rebecca in 2009, Aaron Oakley in 2012, Des and Valerie, Des in 2014 and Valerie in 2015. So a very elite cadre of people to be around. Plus, you're on the same list as Jay Redding too. So
I know Jay lets me know that too. Yeah. Jay actually, we talked about it a couple years ago, and we were talking about the Bob West, and he goes, yeah, when that came across, he goes, we didn't know who you were. He goes, we just knew this letter was, he goes, who is this? It's like, yeah, it's little me.
Well, I mean, it does speak to the depth of character, and that's one of the things. One of the common strands that we talk with all our guests, one of the things that comes up is this idea of family, this idea of friendship that connects through Frisbee, and
chosen family as well, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, the family that we choose, and the family
your
and the
couch
friends that we
surfing
make, yeah.
family, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we lose some of our family, that hurts. It hurts a
yeah,
lot.
it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's definitely not
Yeah.
easy.
I mean,
No.
that's one of the reasons why we have memorial events for our good peeps that we want to celebrate the memories. And what better way to celebrate the memory than all throwing a Frisbee together, right?
Yep. Yep, that's true. And Tim Selinski served as a healing tournament for a lot of people from our last loss. So
Mm.
it really did.
Well, we've kept you beyond our hour, but the good times hour is always about an extra half hour of goodness.
Or
We've got
it just,
so many more things we could talk to you about, and hopefully we can bookmark those and have you on for a future show. Certainly we can go into the Salt Lick barbecue at Round Rock. That looks so good. I could just move there. We could also talk about you being a hunter guide for some professional football players. Those are other
Yes.
salient topics to talk about. But
well, she like Andy will be in Rock Hill the whole week, and we will be
I
doing
will.
interviews during that
We're-
whole week
we're
as
gonna
well.
have to-
So
we're gonna have to
we
invite
could bring
and
you back
Randy,
on. We probably
please.
we might ask you some more pointed questions about your
Yeah.
employer or your employment, and
Well, the first appearance is all softballs. Then when we get you in
then,
person,
then we're gonna break up the knife and the sharpening
Yeah.
block.
Ease them in. Ease them in.
but thank you so much for taking the time, and for being such a great guest. I think most of what we've done so far is we focused on the 80s and 90s with our guests, and so
Yeah.
it's really great to see someone who's started a little bit later to the dance, but who's brought so much incredible energy, enthusiasm, verve, and zest that you could win several Bob Wests or other affiliated types of awards for sure.
Oh, I appreciate that. I've had fun reminiscing.
Right on.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for stopping by. We definitely appreciate you taking a little time out of your week. And these will, as soon as I upload this, it'll be on our YouTube page at Good Times Hour 12:15 is the YouTube channel at Good Times Hour 12:15. And again, it's great to have you. It's a pleasure to get to talk to you again, as always. And I mean, this is, to me, is like, you're definitely on a list of people like Bellier, although I've been having this conversation with Bellier for almost 30 years now. But it's not just a conversation with anybody, and a lot of people that are on that list, including yourself, it's just another addition to that conversation.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. I really was honored that you asked, and yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys in person.
We'll be
Right
there in
on.
October for sure.
Like this annual. In the meantime, continue to do what you do. Keep smiling, keep bringing the joy, keep bringing the light, and keep having fun with your daughter there. Those are some great photos on your Instagram account as well.
Thank you. Thank you,
Nice.
guys.
All right.
Right.
Thanks again for stopping by, and it won't be long. Are you going to be in Flagstaff?
Yes.
There's a good chance I'll see you there.
Then I'll see you there.
All righty then.
Alrighty. Okay.
Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.